I would love if you could just start with kind of the story, the founding story of OF Group, and how you got your own start in brokerage.
Absolutely. Basically, my great grandfather started our family business back in 1928 in the beautiful port of Veracruz, Mexico, which is on the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, there on the west coast. This was obviously a long time ago. Basically, imports from Europe into Mexico. Along the line, my grandfather, his brother, took the business, the leadership. And a few years after that, my grandfather, Oscar Fernandez, he moved from Veracruz to Nuevo Laredo as a Mexican licensed customs broker. And my father, another Oscar in the family business. And then I'm here, Oscar the third in Laredo. So that's our flagship service. I have to say, Jack, customs clearances and customs services, both Mexico and US, both southbound and northbound. We've recently shifted also into the trucking industry. We have our own fleet of Mexican and US trucks. So we're trying to offer this complete integral supply chain service door to door from not only customs brokerage and but other logistical services for the same industry, the same customer base.
Yeah, that's
We are.
awesome. Thank you very much for sharing. And maybe one of the ways that we can talk about, sort of the expansion of the business, what I love about brokerages, especially border brokerages and folks that we know from Laredo, is that there's often this like deep, rich family history in brokerage. Comes over frequently from the Mexican side, and then of course we've got this kind of sister cities situation with Laredo and Nuevo Laredo being one of the most prominent examples. But it gives you such a deep knowledge of folks on kind of both sides of the equation and what they're looking for and what it is that we need to do to sort of specifically move this freight in the best way possible. Maybe you could share a story, and if this, leads into, why you began, sort of expanding into trucking and more of the full service logistics offering. Maybe you could share a story of a customer or, something that you think really reflects the way that you guys serve clients and maybe focus on some of the differences between some of these big sort of mechanistic, companies versus like what it really means to work with a group like OF.
So I have to start off saying that the border is a very unique region, the southern border with Mexico, and not only in a cultural way, but in a geographical way. That changes our profession in a very unique way, in the sense that we need to consider not only U.S. customs, we need to consider other international trade necessities and barriers such as Mexican customs and obviously trucking or transportation. So that's the model we're building, trying to offer a single stop shop solution for our customers, and offering them everything that they need to get and do in order to move their goods, either import them into Mexico or import them to the U.S. Our warehouse is there, our yard is there, our truck drivers are there. We have our own fleet. So we're licensed in Mexico and in the U.S.
And I would imagine, as you start to sort of consume some of the additional, services around moving the freight, that gives you guys a lot better sort of overarching picture. One thing that I hear from a lot of folks on the border is that, when you're clearing freight in Laredo, you've got a very, very short timeline, really quick communication cycles, things kind of flying around from all directions. My assumption would be that, you guys get a lot more communicability and a lot more ability to plan and consistently deliver as a result of that. But anything that you would add there around, what it's been like to sort of add the additional service?
That's totally right. I mean, we're thinking of just connecting all the different divisions and the different services into one single experience. And you hit it. Laredo shipments need to cross the same day. That's an absolute necessity. They get stuck a maximum of 3 days, and most of our loads get crossed the same day. But that's where we come in and pretty much offer a one point of contact, Jack, to our customers, and that includes not only the entry, but also the pedimento and the cross docking and the warehousing and the distribution and the sorting and you name it. We can deliver anywhere in the States or anywhere in Mexico, and pick up vice versa, pick up anywhere even Canada. That's another coverage We offer the whole North American import, export, and logistical solution.